I was walking through a valley, shadows all around. No life in the bones, just silence on the ground. I was walking through a valley, shadows all around. No life in the bones, just silence on the ground. You said, son of man, can these bones live? I looked in your eyes, said only you can give. You take prophecy to the wind, speak to the breath, let the spirit begin. I opened my mouth, felt your fire in my chest. Now these dry bones about to rise and be blessed. Oh, breathe on me, yeah, from the four winds. Wrap my soul in love, call these bones to live again. Put your spirit in me and I will rise. In the valley of dry bones, you made me alive. You whisper like thunder, woke the dream in me. Took my ashes, turned them into prophecy. You stitched me together with sinews and grace. Put rhythm in my heart, now I dance in this place. You said speak to the hopeless, let them know I see. Tell them I'm the one who sets captives free. So I lift my voice with this holy groove. Even dry bones start to move. Breathe on me, yeah, from the four winds. Fill my soul with fire, bring these dead dreams back again. You gave me a name, you gave me a tribe. In the valley of dry bones, I came alive. You took my exile, my empty shell, turned my heartbreak into a story to tell. Now every bone, every scar, every tear is a testimony that you're still near. We were scattered, broken, and cast aside, but you called us chosen, oh yes, we rise. Breathe on us, yeah, from the four winds. Cover this nation with mercy again. We are army, hear your call. In the valley of dry bones, we stand
Shabbat Shalom, family. Good to see you all here. Hope you're doing well. Boy, I tell you what, I had a rough night. The pain went tenfold in my arm, and I ended up with, well, Loretta was happy. I sat up with her, and she was the happiest one in the house. So I did not go to sleep until really early this morning, and I literally just woke up recently. And I normally do not sleep through the morning. I'm always up and, got things going on. But I guess I just had to break down and go to sleep. But I'm glad I did because I feel really refreshed and the pain is not throbbing. It was really throbbing last night, but right now it's not that bad. So, y'all, we're going to talk about Donald Trump, who's still making threats on Greenland. And his latest threat is any country that oppose him taking Greenland, he will slap tariffs on them. So we know what happens when Donald Trump talks about tariffs. That means we're going to have to spend more money because everything goes up in price every time this man talks about tariffs. And, so nobody can oppose Donald Trump stealing a land mass. You're not supposed to oppose him as he's being a thief. I mean, these folks are just unbelievable. They are unbelievable. So you're getting ready to carry out a theft, and anybody that opposes you will be punished. Well, it's not good because the other nations, they already sent their troops there on the ground just in case the U.S. come in on them. So it's about 3 or 4 European countries that have already sent their troops to Greenland, anticipating Donald Trump making a move on that island. So we shall see what happens, but I don't think this is going to end very well, y'all. I don't think it will. So let's get to it. Oh, I don't know if y'all heard, Mexico had a pretty bad earthquake. I was looking at some of those videos this morning. They had a 6.5 earthquake there in Mexico. And they said this one was pretty bad. Please give me a 1 if you can see my screen. Okay, thank you.
Countries if they don't go along with Greenland, because we need Greenland for national security. So I may do that. I just went one after another. I called Germany. No, we will not do that. They said, no, we're going to put a 25% tariff, which is, by the way, about 7 times more than they would have to pay by raising the drug, like 7 times. This wasn't like a little bit more, 7 times more. And I may do that for Greenland too. I may put a tariff on countries if they don't go along with Greenland, because we need Greenland for national security. So I may do that.
It is a message the people of Denmark cannot make any more clear.
Greenland is definitely not for sale.
But one the White House is not ready to receive.
The president has made his priority quite clear. He wants the United States to acquire Greenland. He thinks it's in our best national security to do that.
Any financial acquisition of Greenland would need congressional support. And the bipartisan members in Copenhagen for talks say they won't provide a dime for Trump's ambitions for global expansion.
Support in Congress to acquire Greenland in any way is not there.
Greenland and Denmark are taking Trump's threats seriously.
We're actually talking about a war between Denmark and the United States that's being discussed at the moment, which is insane.
So much so that Denmark has increased its military presence around the island, while a small number of military personnel from several European countries arrived on Thursday. It is a message the people of Denmark cannot make any more clear.
Greenland is definitely not for sale.
But one the White House is not ready to receive.
The president has made his priority quite clear. He wants the United States to acquire Greenland. He thinks it's in our best national security to do that.
UK moving forces to Greenland in a show of support for Denmark. Trump today threatening to punish NATO allies that get in his way.
I may put a tariff on countries if they don't go along with Greenland.
And again, David, NATO countries now sending troops to Greenland to help protect against the U.S. and the president threatening those new tariffs if our allies try to interfere with his plans.
And I may do that for Greenland too. I may put a tariff on countries if they don't go along with Greenland, because we need Greenland for national security. So I may do that. I'll give you a little, I'll take you out of that. In fact, that'll end up being the story.
Ich hätte noch vor ein paar Jahren nicht gedacht, dass ich einmal hier stehe und etwas so Selbstverständliches sagen muss. Territoriale Integrität und Souveränität sind zentrale, nicht verhandelbare Grundsätze unserer internationalen Ordnung. Gewaltsame Gebietsveränderungen haben keinerlei völkerrechtliche Legitimität. Gestern haben wir auf Einladung Dänemarks ein Erkundungsteam nach Grönland entsandt. Wir stehen gemeinsam mit unseren NATO-Verbündeten ganz klar an der Seite Grönlands und Dänemarks, meine Damen und Herren.
Well, we're going to see NATO has been dealing with us on Greenland. We need Greenland for national security very badly. If we don't have it, we have a big hole in national security.
We had actually a meeting today with a lot of NATO partners, including the US, and invited them to participate in this exercise. I don't see a NATO allied attacking other than a NATO allied. But of course, if we have Russia attacking Greenland, it is my task to defend it, and I will do that both with Danish troops, but of course within the alliance as well.
Donald Trump moves one step closer in his plans to declare war on Greenland and Denmark, today threatening high tariffs on any European country who opposes him. There are a few problems here. Trump is breaking the law, and I don't just mean that metaphorically. I'm a lawyer. One, the tariff authority Trump is invoking says that there has to be an economic emergency. Previously is a bunch of BS that it was an economic emergency, but this has nothing to do with economics. He's outright said he's afraid Russia's going to invade and take over Greenland, or China will do it, and therefore he wants to invade and take it over first. That is full-on power politics. That's not economics. He does not have the power to put tariffs on anybody about Greenland, because that's not economic. So he doesn't have the law to do it. Two, invading and taking over the country. That is an open declaration of war. We would be declaring war on Greenland and Denmark, that owns Greenland, it's a part of Denmark, and on all of the European Union, on all of NATO. President doesn't have that power. He can do military actions to some degree, like the stuff he was doing in Venezuela, but declaring war on Greenland and Denmark? No. Third problem, annexing new parts of the U.S. Again, that's congressional power. It's not presidential. He literally physically doesn't have the ability to do it. So he could invade, which would be illegal. By the way, all the troops who helped Donald Trump invade would be breaking international law and U.S. law. They would be illegal orders. And every single American soldier who helped Donald Trump invade Greenland and go to war with Denmark could be thrown in prison, and they would be charged by the next administration. So keep that in mind. It is illegal under U.S. law to follow an illegal order. Folks, this is serious stuff. And I think it's very interesting that MAGA voted for Trump when Trump claimed he was going to end all wars. And he is now the most warmongering president we have had in American history. Very bad. Oh, final point. China's going to invade Taiwan if this happens, and Russia's going to invade their other neighbors. If we do this, we will destroy NATO. If we just, literally destroy NATO, NATO will be over, because we will have declared war on NATO, literally. That happens. China says, Europe's not going to come to America's defense if we invade Taiwan. They're going to do it. Russia's going to say, Europe's not going to get defense from America if we invade the Baltic states, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, bordering Russia, and take them back to the communist Soviet Union, which is what they had before. America's not coming to the help. China's going to invade. Russia's going to invade. We are going to have so many wars as a result of this. And Russia and China, as always, the dictatorships are going to be happy as hell as to what Donald Trump is doing. Why does Donald Trump keep doing things that dictators want? Why does Donald Trump keep doing things that our enemies want? Isn't that the $50,000 question?
Yes, just when you thought the timeline we were living in could not get any more dumb, Trump is now threatening tariffs on other countries if they don't support his plan to annex Greenland. And all of this is happening right now as troops are arriving in Greenland from Norway, France, Sweden, and Germany for a joint military exercise, which I would say is a very clear show of force to the United States, and that they are taking Trump's threats about Greenland very seriously. And Americans are just not on board with Trump's latest foreign policy. You look at this new poll, and it shows that 57% think that Trump's decisions have weakened the United States' role on the world stage. 70% say that the U.S. should receive congressional approval before taking military action, something he did not do when it came to Venezuela. And 69% either strongly oppose or oppose U.S. military involvement in Greenland. Trump keeps insisting that we need Greenland because of national security. But here's the thing. We already have a military base on Greenland. And Danish leaders have warned that if Trump goes through with his threat to try to annex Greenland, that would be the end of NATO as we know it. So let me get this straight. Trump wants to blow up NATO, alienate our allies, and start trade wars, all in the name of national security, because that sounds like a bigger threat to national security to me.
How challenging is this moment for Canada, given some of the things the president has been saying?
Very, and I think clearly to discuss our first block, the fact that they're not really sure and they don't want to antagonize the Americans explain why we seem to be sitting on the sideline of this Denmark, German, French, Swedish, Norwegian, Finnish boat trip over to Greenland. I would say what really concerns me about this is that it's not clear to me what the off-ramp is for Donald Trump to stop talking about this. The other thing that's really concerning is now that he's lumped in as Greenland is required for the Golden Dome. Well, if that's one of the reasons why he wants to go to Greenland, that is also one of the reasons he could easily use for saying he needs to acquire Canada. I mean, we are a much more difficult problem than Greenland, but I don't know how you walk that back, and what that means for us will be very difficult if the government doesn't decide which lane it wants to be in, and it has not made that clear yet.
Andrew, what do you think we should be? Would you think the government should be doing here in this moment? Because we are kind of literally stuck in the middle.
Well, and potentially very close to a massive international crisis. If anybody who thinks, oh, this is just Trump blowing steam and nobody takes it seriously, the Danes take it pretty seriously. The European countries that are sending troops to Greenland are taking it pretty seriously. The US senators who are desperately trying to pass legislation to prohibit it are taking it pretty seriously. It is a massive undertaking. It's insanity, of course, but if Trump were insane enough to try, it has the potential to blow up in his face like nothing on earth. At a minimum, it would destroy NATO. And when I say destroy NATO, that would mean massive European retaliation, whether in the form of economic measures, in the form of expelling US military bases. The idea that this would just be some passing contretemps that we would all forget about is not going to be the case. At worst, it could be a shooting war. And these are the kinds of situations that force countries to take sides, and we would be in an extremely exposed situation where every principle would suggest that we should be lining up with the Europeans on this, but it would require some pretty brazen defiance of the United States. So we are potentially very close to a very decisive moment for the history of the country.
Chantal?
So, to be fair, the Prime Minister did state that the future of Greenland was for Greenlanders and for Denmark to decide. That being said, we do not have a choice but to take this seriously, because if we ever were in the same kind of trouble, and that's totally possible if you look at, I agree with Andrew's term, insanity of this, we would want our allies to speak up and not look the other way. And if we would want them to do that, we cannot just sit on the sidelines and say it's all going to be okay. But the irony of all this is, well, two things. Massive disapproval in the US, at least so far, from public opinion. There's no let's do this movement in the US. Just compounds disapproval of Donald Trump. But the other thing is, the US has a deal with Greenland. It has a military base there. It has the potential to put more soldiers, more boots on the ground, totally legally in Greenland. So you kind of wonder where that obsession will lead. But I do agree that the consequences could be serious, and that we need to be engaged on this, because it could be us.
Yeah. European troops have begun arriving in Greenland after talks in Washington failed to make progress on President Trump's push to take over the territory. Danish Air Force troops landed late last night, and NATO partners, including France, Germany, and others, are sending small numbers of forces as well. This comes after the Danish foreign minister said a fundamental disagreement over Greenland remains after meeting with American officials at the White House. Greenland residents say they are relieved to have the support from allies, but worry about what comes next.
I don't think facts affects Trump. And to be honest, as it seems right now, the major threats to security in Greenland comes from our US allies.
The White House said today that the presence of new European troops in Greenland would not affect President Trump's position on taking over the territory.
Okay, y'all, this is ridiculous to me. 92% of Americans said they don't want this. They don't want this. They don't want any war over Greenland. They don't want Donald Trump to try to take over the territory. They don't want this. But Donald Trump don't hear anybody, and he wants to do whatever the hell he wants to do. How you doing, Kid Gravity? And, you know, it is one of these things. I pray there is no bloodshed, but, you know, we are in these times of the final days, and it could very well turn into that. And they already made it clear this is not going to be like grabbing up Venezuela. They will fight. They will fight. And the European leaders have all gotten on board with each other, and they're all preparing to send more troops there if Donald Trump don't back off. So this can easily turn into something and escalate something really big. You know, I think taking Venezuela, he got overconfident. But you got to realize all countries are not going to just let the US pop in on them and take over their country. I mean, did you hear the way Colombia's was talk? Colombia's like, oh no, we're ready. You know, they were talking like, okay, no, we're not going to go down like Venezuela. We will fight. So look like that is the case with Greenland, and Canada is watching this very closely because Donald Trump did all that talking about making them the 51st state. So they're very concerned. They're saying if he can grab up Greenland, then what's to stop him from coming after Canada next? So the Canadians are really watching everything closely. And, you know, Donald Trump is moving on this despite the fact the people of Greenland said they don't want to be part of America. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. But y'all, this is really in the hands of the Most High at this point. And this could be something that Donald Trump may start, but somebody else will finish. So, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. The Bible study will be at 1:45 today. So some of you, I will see you, some I won't, but have a wonderful, wonderful afternoon. Shalom. Shabbat shalom.